Well, we've done some Christmas cards already, very loosely in my Impressionist style. Let's carry on now and do a second film and tighten up a little bit, perhaps a little bit more commercially. We'll do another choir scene and we'll do another one with the Robbin, this time almost photographically. Make a start on this Robbin, on the holly. We'll do the Robbin first and then work the background areas here. The lovely blue-grey there. Going to use a little bit of cerulean this time, just a slight touch of mauve into that. So cerulean with a little touch of purple. We're painting on mount card again, which is a nice surface to paint on. It's very absorbent, so it dries very quickly with the acrylics, which is quite handy because it will work across it quickly then. Tip of the brush we can make these slightly feathery effects, so we're working on quite a large scale here, this bird. It gets quite purple just in there. We'll just make it a little bit more mauve, give it a bit more colour. Make it nice and cheerful for the card. And then we want a more browny grey, so we'll take some yellow ochre and add it to the white. Use several coats one of another to work this in, unless you work it in when it's still wet, of course, but it dries so quickly, there isn't a lot of chance for that elsewhere. Use it, don't waste it. Get that painting done. The underpainting here now, the browns coming through there. So one of these lovely things about acrylic is that you can use it like a watercolour, or you can use it almost like oil greys and warm greys now. Use the edge of the brush just to feather in some of these feathers. Build up our layers bit by bit by bit. If we put these cool greys on, of course the warmer greys are going to appear warmer, so we can play. Don't be afraid if you go over something like the branch there a bit, because you're going to go back and paint it in more detail later anyway. Paint sunk into that quite a bit. I want to make this grey-blue a little bit lighter in a moment. Down to the orange breast. The other day we started with a thin coat of yellow ochre. This time I'm going to be a little bit different. I'm going to actually use a brighter yellow. I'm going to use my cadmium yellow to start off, because I really want a nice bright Robbin today. And then I'm going to come back in with my yellow ochre, which I did before. Our nice Robbin red breast suddenly appearing. Now, not a lot of red, not to overdo it. Orange with some cadmium red and some chrome yellow. Tint it in. A little bit of rose going into that as well. Not just the warm reds, but the cool reds as well. Little strokes to mimic the feathers. And take a little bit of sienna now and a touch of blue, just to get some of the darker warm shades. And there we are, there's our Robbin, about as far as we need to go with it. Back in one or two bits of lighter blue-grey. Okay, let's look at this branch coming through here. Or shall we leave that? No, we'll leave that towards the end actually. We'll start on these leaves next. And we'll paint a base green in for that. In other words, a green that will cover most of what the colour is. It's a fairly bluey green. Let's see if that does it. It's just to get in a base colour. See how quickly they dry, because one mark is showing under another like a glaze. So I've got to work pretty quickly on this to build up these layers so that they're flat enough. Okay, we'll speed up the camera now while I paint these in, because there's no point in you watching me slowly painting all these base colours in, and then we'll slow down again and start the details on top so you can see carefully. Just put a little bit more cerulean blue with it now to do some of the background effects that the snow's going to go over. Some of these greens are just glowing through. I'm going to work both ways. I'm going to go backwards and forwards, putting it underneath and on top. See how we can use the water as a wash almost to tint some of the areas of card before we put in more details. So it's a combination of effects, it's a combination of techniques in a way, isn't it, which is rather nice. Come back into here with my snow tints and paint mixed with white with body colour later, just to get rid of this white and give me an underpainting. I'll do it fairly quickly. Hopefully the colour on here is now almost deep enough. I want a little bit darker now down here. A little bit greener and darker. Bluer in places. Let's have a look at these leaves now. I'm going to put some more cobalt blue in and just bring these holly leaves here a shade darker with the blues. Now it's time to use a smaller brush and we'll come back onto these yellowy greens. Turquoises and yellows to make a very cool bluey green. I want to put some of the darks in behind now because I'm going to work the snow over most of this later on, and I also want to get the red of these berries in, just the basic red of these berries in. So let's take some cadmium red and paint those in now. But again, we can tidy them up later. I don't have to worry about making things absolutely detailed right now. Take some Prussian blue and black now, not just straight black, to paint in these branches. Let's look at this lovely branch that comes down through here now. I want to establish these darks background here to bring out all these lighter colours, and then we'll come back in yet with the snow effects. So I'm using the lighter Prussian blue to the dark now, a little bit of black in with the Prussian blue thinned down to give the shadowed effects back into these. But you see the effects now we're getting by building up the darks and the lights gradually, and now we're going to need to come back on with our light shadows in the snow. So I'm going to make up some very pale greys and light colours and lose most of the white card now, because we're going to come back onto that later with the pure white paint anyway. I think at this stage you can really start to see how these warm and cool greys work and how it's bringing this painting out. And we're almost in our closing stages now, because we're moving up to the very, very light colours next, the whites and the creams, and to just give the snow this bright glistening effect. And there we are. Do we need to do much more? I think that painting's about done, personally. There we are. I think that'll do now. Very delicate signature.